Ready, set, art. Part 2, Florida animals. Some are native, some aren't, but they're commonly found in Florida. Today we have part 2. We already did part 1, the zebra long-winged butterfly, the mockingbird, and the Florida panther. I'm going to move that to the side for now. And this one will be iguana, American flamingo, alligator snapping turtle. I love these just as in detailing, and it will be nice for this later project where you could either do it as a portrait, like an animal portrait with the head or the whole body, but you're going to do some abstract expressionism. So it's a style in art that I'll get to when we get to the main piece. But you can see these dashed kind of movable lines. It looks like there's action used to make them. I also did glazing. Glazing means you put one color down, let it dry, then you put the next color down to avoid too much bleeding of the colors, right? Because sometimes if you're using bright colors like this and they bleed together, they become a color that you may not want for your composition. The other thing you do is once it's dry, you go in with black. So black paint. And you can see it's not a complete full outline, it's kind of dashed in, creating that abstract style again. Some areas are thin and some areas are thick. All right, let's move on. So I'm going to start with the flamingo. All right, so I always want to do access lines. That helps me to figure out things. I'm going to draw big and I'll just use a new sheet each time for the other ones. And then let's go ahead and that's for the head. You probably noticed the head was lower than where the neck started. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and put that weird, interesting teardrop shape. It's really wide. It's much wider than you would think. They do have kind of bulky bodies. I may be drawing this very big, and if the legs go off the page, they go off the page. It's better to have it go off the page than have incorrect proportion. And then I'm going to go ahead, put that part in. I love pencil angles because it helps to get the proportions and the angles just right. So you can see it's starting to create that shape, right? I'm going to start here by working on the neck. I noticed when I was drawing, the neck was the hardest one to do because you end up drawing it too short, and I already did that. So let me correct again. No big deal. So I'll bring this down lower. Okay, that's better. Their necks are longer than you would think. I mean, we all know they have long necks, but then as you're drawing it, you realize, oh gosh, it's actually longer than I thought. Okay? And then they have kind of this odd-shaped forehead, so we bring that in. And then they're really recognizable because of they have such distinct features compared to a bird. They're pink, they have this long neck, long legs, and then this interesting beak shape. Right? It's kind of like toucans. They're so recognizable because of their beak shape. So I'm going to go ahead and put this shape in, then this shape. And instead of like a V like we did in the mockingbird, it kind of goes like this. It's a different odd shape. And then it has this other shape here for your eye. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and reshape the top part of this body. And their wings are big. If you've ever looked at a picture of a flamingo in flight, they do have really long wings. So tucked in, you can imagine that, yeah, it takes up quite a bit of space. All right. I'm actually, and then I'm putting longer lines here to indicate that those would be longer feathers, right? Okay, so legs. One of my pet peeves about flamingos and legs is when I see students draw, I'll draw really dark here. So here's our bird, they'll draw it like this, they'll get the other leg correct, and then they'll do this, like a 4. Their legs do not bend this way, they bend back. So I feel like this is a common mistake that I see. I don't know why that happens, but maybe it's because the way we walk, our knee bends forward and theirs bend back. All right, so I'm going to create this feather guarded shape, okay, that gets us started. It goes nice and long, and then it gets to the knee, and it does kind of round out like an egg. And due to the way I was drawing, I did not fit the foot in. But if you look right here, yeah, it comes out like this, webbed Why? Because they like to walk in water. So that works out for them. Next, this leg is behind this one, and we're barely going to see that part, this feathery part that covers it. And then I'm going to go in and create this shape of the top part of the leg. This time it's almost creating a triangle shape here, and then comes back to here. And then it's behind this leg, but it does web out, but it will look something more like this. I can keep going, but detail-wise, this is what you're looking for. You lightly erase, you clean up your lines, and kind of reshape. Next, we're going to try the iguana. So it's actually not as hard as you think. There's so many details. That's what makes it interesting. You think that's what's going to make it hard, but shape-wise, it's actually fairly easy to work with. I'm going to go ahead and sharpen my pencil because I need to, and we will start the iguana. This time I want to draw landscape style because it's such a longer body. So I will try for you guys to see. I may have to move things along, but I hope you're able to see from there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, angle the head, angle the body. As it gets to here, it's the tail. One of their distinct features is that super long tail, right? And then I'm going to bring this tail up. It gets to here and it creates this little line. And then this way, because it's a fold. And then the body rounds out, comes back up. And then I know that seems thin there, but that's because we didn't add that flapping yet. I'm just creating the main head where the mouth is and the jaw. Okay, so that's our main body shape. Their hind legs, I feel like, are oddly placed. They angle this way, then angle back, and then their little feet kind of dangle off to the side here, right? It's an odd shaping, and I'll fix that later. This part makes sense to me, and that's this part of the leg, okay? And we're going to go right here. And it almost looks like they have mini muscles here, right? So we're going to create that shape. And this is foreshortened. So what does that mean? When you create the claw, you're drawing it, part of it from the front. So it kind of starts like this, and then it has the claw. And then as it moves, angles this way, it's a 3/4 view. And then this one is finally a side view. Okay, so that's the shape that we're creating. I know it's kind of small there, that's why I had to draw it big. I normally wouldn't leave that there, but again, we're just demonstrating. I'll add this little toe in. And then finally this thinner one. All right, okay, so we have that part in. Let's go ahead. All right, and then I want to add this really interesting, weird flap, and it kind of comes up. Helps to shape that jaw. And then I'll add this in, and look, when I get to here, I move out, right? So I hope you can see that. I'll move it this way so you can. All right. All right, so we have this nice little flap, and then we're going to round this part out, right? We're going to fix that eye. Now it's starting to get there, right? They always seem like they're frowning. That's what lizards do. We have a chameleon that is constantly that frown face. I'm adding this eye. Okay. And then it has this weird bump. So we'll put that in. Why it's there, I don't know. I'm going to erase my access line. They have these weird little scales, and you think, gosh, do I have to add that in? Well, you know, there's some features on animals, if you don't add it in, it feels like there's something missing. So I'm going to add also these weird scale shapes. What is that? It's just there. Now I can add the other leg in. Again, a weird muscle. This time it is kind of seen from the side, but we're going to go ahead and put this in. On my other sketch, you probably noticed that the flamingo head is covering it. Okay? And that's okay. Again, in sketching, that's fine. All right, so we are almost there. I'm going to finish this back leg. Again, has this interesting muscle shape. The knee. Overlap. That was just placement. a placement sketch. So now I like how the toes in the back are really long. It's kind of interesting. Okay, details. It has striping and then those interesting spikes, right? So I'm going to add some of the striping. It kind of changes as it goes. I once had a roommate with an iguana. I'll tell you what, not my favorite pet. Not my favorite pet. They're beautiful animals, but I don't know. I do like the chameleon. All right, there we go. And then let's add these little spikes in. Again, you could figure out that if I just kept going with these spikes, that it would get to this point. And that's where I'm at. So if you look, I kind of lightly erased, and I made some lines darker so that you can see, and I detailed with the spiking to finish the piece. Next, we have the alligator snapping turtle. So there we go. Sorry, I had to get a better light. So I love this shaping, and I'll show you how to get started, and then I'll show you how to detail it. And it was funny when I was drawing this face, and then my husband had to be texting me and reminding me that Never Ending Story was on Netflix. And it's funny that I was drawing this because if you've ever seen that movie, you know there's a giant version of this turtle coming out of a mountain area, like near the mud, and it's this shaped face that comes out. So it's kind of a weird coincidence. All right, so there goes that sketch, and we are ready for a turtle. In this case, I don't really need an axis line because it's this part that's the most important, this weird, funny egg shape. It's flatter here and rounder here, okay? So it's like a misshapen ellipse, okay? I'm going to go ahead and put placement in for the feet, and then I am going to create this rounder part here. Why? Because that's in the original drawing, and it will help fit in where the head is going to be. Okay, and it has a wider here, okay? Another foot's there. Now I can kind of place this here, and we have our basic shape to start our detailing. I noticed that there are 3 sections to the spikes on its back. So I'm going to go ahead and divide up that area so I know where to go. I'm also going to create this ridging that's going around, okay? And then to do the ridging, I'm going to lightly erase, okay? And it has these, kind of reminds me of regular shells, how this is, because we're looking at it from the side instead of the front. So I just, whatever shape you see, that's the shape you draw, right? Okay, so I did that, and then I just kind of add some shadowing there so that I know that it's going inward, and then I add these little lines. See, that's how that part's done. All right, I'm going to add some of that spiking. This goes, and I'm kind of rough and irregular with the shaping because that's how this turtle is, right? Okay, let me just kind of create this webbing going around, and then I'll put these in. I like that when we get to here, we start to see little spikes. It's very prehistoric. Okay. Now for this part, what I do is I go ahead and kind of shape where these little spikes are. Okay. And then I do this. And then, like a, I don't know, the top to a circus tent, you just go like this. Okay, and then it has a ridge to it, just like that. We just add an extra line on each side, and then it webs around. This indicates that it's indenting. Okay, and I could keep doing that, but you get the idea. And then when it gets to here, because this is going up, you would do that. So it looks like it's going up and down. Okay, now you're going to notice as I keep going, I go back and I detail and I make it a little rougher looking. I add some shading and I just keep shaping the top. Let's move on to the feet because I think you get the idea if I just kept going here. I'm going to go ahead and Again, we're creating this really kind of rough, wide leg. Okay? Has these little funny spikes. When you see the coloring, it's like black with some red marks. Okay, and then we have these toes, or claws, okay. Just like that. You would do the same to the back. And now we're ready for the head. The head is interesting. I'm going to go ahead and put this little point, and then it goes like this. All right, and then hopefully you can see. It has this little, it almost looks like a tooth, right? And then it angles really sharply down, goes back up, and has this, almost reminds me of a stapler remover, if you've ever seen one of those. Like, it has that similar shaping. Okay, the eye is really, it's higher up than you would think. It feels like it should be back here, but it's not. Okay, I am going to extend this line just a little further because I think that's where the eye actually is. When you look these up, you're kind of surprised how far up the eye is. Okay, and then it has these wonderful old looking wrinkles that come off the side. There's this interesting necklace shape, and then more little stripies. And when you see this, it has little spikes inside its neck. It's an odd creature, and I like it. All right, as a finished piece, it's going to look something like this, sketch-wise. I did add some shading here and there, just because sketchbook-wise, I thought that would be nicer. And that helps to finish part 2 of Florida Animals. The next step, next video, I will show you how to do the painting technique, the abstract expressionism of our wonderful alligator. You could pick any animal from Florida that's commonly found in Florida, even if it's not native. That's okay. I'm just going with that theme, and then we're going to use some bright colors. Thank you. Have a nice day.